More than 1,500 miles from the nearest inhabited land, a volcanic island sits alone in the South Atlantic. There is no airport. To reach it, you endure a 6-day ocean crossing from South Africa. Yet roughly 250 people have chosen to live here, on Tristan da Cunha, the most isolated inhabited island on Earth. What keeps this community alive is a way of life the modern world left behind. This volcanic cone rises directly from the cold basins of the South Atlantic Ocean. To comprehend this extreme isolation, look to St. Helena, its nearest inhabited neighbor, which lies exactly 2,435 kilometers, or 1,514 miles, to the northwest. Because of this vast gap, Guinness World Records officially recognizes the territory as the most remote inhabited island on Earth. It is a solitary speck of rock, dwarfed by an infinite expanse of open, volatile water, where the sheer scale of the sea dictates the parameters of survival. Crossing this volatile wilderness requires submitting entirely to the rhythm of the ocean, as Tristan da Cunha has no airport. The only gateway to this outpost is Calshot Harbor, reached via a 6-day crossing from Cape Town, South Africa. This maritime corridor is serviced by a small fleet of vessels making about 10 return trips a year. Every passenger, medicine crate, and fuel drum must brave these turbulent waters. And in times of medical urgency, patients face the same slow voyage back. At the end of the passage lies Edinburgh of the Seven Seas, the island's single settlement. Here, a community of roughly 250 residents lives in complete reliance on these vessels. When a ship anchors offshore, the arrival becomes a major communal event, drawing people together to unload the cargo. For this small population, the vessel is their only physical connection to the outside world, serving as their ultimate lifeline. On an island of 250 people, survival relies on a workforce where specialization is a luxury. Here, public life demands that residents cover multiple duties. A single individual might spend their morning teaching algebra at St. Mary's School, their afternoon repairing a damaged harbor jetty, and their evening preparing files for the island council. The local administration, split across 11 small departments, employs about 140 people, meaning nearly every adult holds several civic roles. Maintenance, education, and local governance are cooperative tasks managed by the same small group of neighbors who rotate responsibilities as the need arises rather than specialized departments. This systemic overlap replaces traditional career paths with a shared commitment to community preservation. When a crisis occurs, there is no external team to call. The island plumber is also the volunteer firefighter, and the school teacher coordinates emergency response. This collective system of overlapping duties ensures that the basic functions of the settlement never falter, relying on a quiet, daily trust that every neighbor will work together to keep the island alive. This collective effort materializes on a narrow shelf of land on the far side of the settlement plain. Here lie the potato patches, a grid of rectilinear fields stretching nearly 4 kilometers along the coast and extending up to a kilometer inland. Encircled by low stone walls built to shield delicate crops from ferocious Atlantic winds, this agricultural zone has provided the island's main food security for more than 150 years. The land is collectively owned by the island's families. Each household tends its assigned plots, sharing both the physical strain of manual cultivation and the seasonal yields. The fertile soil has sustained potato crops for generations without formal crop rotation, relying instead on natural soil qualities and steady community care. During planting and harvesting seasons, the patches become the center of coordinated labor. Neighbors work side by side, digging the earth, clearing rocks, and hauling sacks of tubers. This local harvest ensures that even if supply ships are delayed for months by rough seas, the community has a reliable source of sustenance right beneath their feet. While the potato fields secure basic survival, a modern community cannot run on subsistence agriculture alone. Fuel, medicine, and manufactured goods require hard currency. To earn this, the island turns away from the land and looks to the volatile waters of the South Atlantic. The Tristan rock lobster is the lifeblood of the island's economy, accounting for roughly 80% of its total revenue. Every year, local fishers harvest about 440 tons of this highly prized spiny lobster, Operating a fleet of about a dozen small two-man boats, the islanders brave the turbulent inshore waters, deploying traditional hoop nets and metal traps. Their catch is processed at Edinburgh's dedicated fishing factory, which was rebuilt in 2009 following a devastating fire. This fishery is not a chaotic free-for-all. It is a carefully managed world-class operation. It holds an unconditional sustainability certification from the Marine Stewardship Council, which enforces strict quotas and gear restrictions to protect spawning stocks. The surrounding marine protection zone designates 91% of the territory's waters as a no-take area, ensuring the resource remains secure for generations. Once processed and frozen, the lobsters are loaded onto supply ships bound for high-value markets in Japan, the United States, and the European Union. The revenue generated by these exports funds public services, infrastructure upgrades, and the community's modest welfare system. For the families of Tristan da Cunha, survival is a continuous balance. While the soil feeds the settlement, it is the cold, unforgiving sea that keeps the community viable in the modern world. Keeping the lights on and the community connected requires managing a miniature, highly fragile utility grid. Tristan da Cunha relies on diesel generators housed at the local power station to supply its baseload electricity. Because fuel must be imported in drums on the rare supply ships, a local wind turbine provides supplementary power to reduce the pressure on these precious diesel reserves. Local maintenance crews and system keepers must maintain this machinery themselves, knowing that replacement parts are always months away. Beyond the electrical grid, modern communication remains strictly limited. The island has no mobile phone network to rely on. Instead, the outside world is reached through satellite-based internet, with public Wi-Fi active only from 5 in the evening until 7 in the morning to conserve bandwidth. This rationing directly shapes daily life at St. Mary's School and the Camogli Healthcare Center, where medical consultations or educational resources must be managed around slow, high-latency connections. On this remote volcanic shelf, every watt of power and every kilobyte of data must be treated as a finite resource. The social fabric of the island is preserved through intimate, tactile traditions. For generations, local knitters have spun sheep's wool to craft custom love socks. These hand-knit garments carry silent messages of courtship, where the number of colored stripes knitted into the wool signals a specific depth of affection, ranging from simple fondness to a marriage proposal. It is a quiet, deliberate language of devotion, born of a community where everyone knows their neighbors. This internal reliance faced its severest test during the global pandemic. On March 9, 2020, the Island Council voted to ban all passenger arrivals, sealing the border completely. For over 2 years, Tristan da Cunha functioned in absolute isolation. The community relied on food stockpiles, local potatoes, and collective gatherings in the village hall to maintain morale, remaining entirely COVID-free. When the Royal Navy's HMS Forth delivered the first vaccine doses in April 2021, it met a population untouched by the virus. By the time restrictions were lifted, the island had proved that its greatest shield was the very isolation that shaped its existence. In our hyper-connected world, this quiet outpost offers a profound truth. Survival does not depend on endless options, but on deep, unbreakable human bonds. In the end, they remind us that when we rely on each other, no isolation is absolute. Subscribe for more stories of human resilience.